everyone, Assalamu alaikum. I hope you're all doing well. This video is a very much requested one, and I have also been meaning to make this for a while now. So I'm going to get straight into it. This will be about my VBAC experience, my pregnancy journey, and what all tips and tricks I did in order to make it a normal delivery. Obviously, whatever you do, it might not work, it might work and it might not work, but everything is in God's hands. You have to do your best and leave the rest to God. So before I start, I want to tell you guys that I'm in no way experienced medical practitioner or an qualified person to talk about VBAC, but what I'm talking about is from my own experience and from my own research and from the knowledge that I have received going through all this. Now, VBAC, for those who don't know, it's vaginal birth after a C-section. So there are many myths surrounding a VBAC where people say that, once you have a C-section, it's always going to be a C-section. There's no way you can try for a normal. Even I heard it. So what happened was with my first one, it was a breech baby. So we came to know the baby was in a breech position very late, for the fact that I was here in Muscat for around 35 weeks or something, and I was consulting a different doctor here, and they never, even though they scanned me for every month, they never told me the baby was in breech and that you have to intervene and do something to turn the baby, because once the baby reaches 37 weeks, it's really difficult to turn the baby. So I went to Dubai for my, because my parents are there, I went to Dubai around 37 weeks. So that time when I had my first scanning with my final doctor who was going to help me deliver, she told me that the baby is in breech and there's no way you can have a normal delivery because it's too late to turn the baby. So that's when I went and took a second opinion from another doctor as well. And she told the same thing. And on 39 weeks we went for a C-section. So that was really a very difficult time for me, basically because I had not anticipated it at all. I was like hoping for a normal delivery just like my mom did. My mom was like 4 children, all normal delivery, so I was like hoping for that. And she had given me all tips as to what you're supposed to do, what you're how it's supposed to be, and she had no experience in a C-section, so she didn't know what to tell me. After my C-section, I had a very difficult time recovering, basically because mentally I was down, and physically also my scars were not healing so quickly as I thought it should. And whenever I tried to feed my baby, when I turned to the side to feed my baby, I would just feel like my organs are falling out of my tummy. That was the feeling I had, and it was really scary. But more than that, the healing process was very difficult for me. It took me 2 months to completely feel that I'm normal, that I don't have anything over there, no stitches over there. And I couldn't sit for almost 2 months. I couldn't sit properly and feed Isa. So that was a very difficult time, and at that point I decided that I have to try for a normal one. I read lots of success stories of VBAC, and where most of the women, they say that if you give a gap between your first and your second delivery, obviously there is a higher chance of trying for a normal one. Basically because they say the scar rupture possibility is low, but either ways the scar rupture possibility is low. I'm going to talk about it later. Now, as a pregnant mom trying for a VBAC, the first thing that you have to do is find a provider or a doctor who is very supportive of VBAC. So there is usually a problem where when you go to a doctor and you tell that you want to try for a VBAC, they kind of say, yeah, okay, we'll try for a VBAC, yeah, when the time comes, But those kind of doctors sometimes can switch their opinion at the last minute. So for example, they'll tell in the beginning that, okay, we'll try for a VBAC, and then at the end they'll be like, no, the VBAC sounds very difficult right now, your due date is past, or or some other kind of things come up, and they tell that VBAC may not be possible, and again you will have to go for a repeat C-section. So I suggest that when you find your doctor, drill them, literally drill them as to what is their success rate with VBACs. There is no problem in asking questions. One of the problems with us is that we kind of tend to back away from asking the doctors our doubts. But you shouldn't do that. It is your body, it is your child, it is your money that you're paying. So obviously you have the right to ask the necessary questions. So when you find your doctor, ask them, drill them regarding VBAC. Tell them adamantly that this is your birth plan. You're not going to change from that birth plan unless and until there is like a very medical emergency where you have to. So in the beginning, ask them about their VBAC success rate. Ask around your friends, your relatives, your anybody, or even in Facebook groups, ask about VBAC friendly doctors. People would give you a lot of advice and a lot of recommendations as to which doctor in your area would be a VBAC friendly one. So second thing is find a hospital that has a midwife available. So those hospitals are mostly VBAC friendly. It's not always necessary, or else you could also find an independent midwife to support you through the whole pregnancy journey and your delivery process as well. For me, it was a midwife in Dubai, as well as I had one in the hospital here. So another factor to keep in mind is that avoid medical interventions as much as possible unless it's absolutely necessary. If your doctor suggests induction or sweeping, or tells you that you cannot go beyond your due date, that they're going to induce you and admit you into the hospital once you're past your due date, don't fear that. Due date is not like an exact date where the baby is supposed to come that day. Due date is just an estimate. The baby is not like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to come on 17th, so I'm going to come on 17th. No, that's not going to happen. So your body is going to tell you when you're ready for labor. So let the natural labor start. Don't go get admitted into hospital early just because you're past your due date, or your doctor says you have to get induced right now. So don't do that. All these things will reduce your chances of a VBAC, and you might have to go for a repeat C-section. So another fear I have seen with people who try for a VBAC is of scar rupture. So scar rupture is basically when your scar tissue from your previous C-section, the stitches open up and you might bleed and things like that. So that is a 0.1% chance that you might actually have a scar rupture. So I don't think it's a big of a concern. It's that less of a chance. So do keep in mind that that is still risky. You just have to know that this is a risk involved in a VBAC. But again, that is still very less. You can still try for a normal one, and in case it's not going to happen, they're going to take you to an emergency C, so you don't have to worry. Other things that you have to focus on while you're trying for a VBAC is the reason for your C-section the first time is kind of relevant when it comes to the second delivery. For example, for me, it was a breech baby. That's the reason for a C-section. So it's not necessary that my second baby is also going to be breech. Now, educate yourself well. Go sign up for birth classes or VBAC preparation classes that the midwives or doulas provide. There are lots of online classes. There is lots of information on the internet. You can educate yourself. Research is your friend, and know your body, know everything regarding VBAC that you're supposed to know all the risks. Okay, so now let me talk about my experience or how it went about. So I actually switched my doctors. The first one, I felt she was the kind of the bait and switch. Like, for example, she said she is friendly, VBAC friendly, but I wasn't really sure with the way she spoke that she would go through it. So I switched the doctors, and I asked around. I found out the best doctor, and with a lot of success rates with VBAC, and that's when I switched to that doctor, and I was confident with her. See, firstly, the reason why I suggest to have a normal delivery, if it's possible, is because of the recovery process. Speaking as somebody who's gone through both, I would still prefer. I mean, there was a time in Instagram when I asked, ask me questions, and there were people who were asking me which is better, C-section or a normal delivery, which is worse, which is more painful. And as a person who's gone through both, I would say that obviously the normal delivery is painful, obviously very painful, but it's at that point of time that it's painful, and the recovery was like a breeze. It's just like I was up and about the next day after delivering a baby. But with C-section, it was just a complete, I don't know, it was just a complete disaster for me. I couldn't move, I couldn't sit, I couldn't lie down sideways, I couldn't feed my baby. I was like literally crying almost every single day because of the scar pain and I don't know what all, but the recovery just took me a lot of time, that I would still say that a normal delivery is much better than a C-section, because C-section just gave me such depressing time. That is one of the reasons why I wanted to go for a normal delivery as well. It's nothing to do with where people say, oh, normal delivery is going to make you more of a mom, because I've heard this from so many people after my first delivery, where when I had to go through a C-section, I felt that people were judging me for the fact that I had a C-section, and I'm somehow less of a mom because I'm a C-section mom. So I don't know where that concept came into the heads of so many uneducated people, but it is a real thing still. Now, coming to the topic of preparing your body for a VBAC. So I'm a person who's not into exercises usually, but I had to take up an exercise routine once I was pregnant. But obviously I didn't start it off right away. The first 3 months were very difficult. I was tired most of the time. I was like, if you guys had noticed, I was completely off Instagram as well. Not completely, but mostly off Instagram as well, because I was just too tired to do anything except just eat and lie down. So but from the 4th month onwards, I made it a routine to walk every day for 30 minutes outside, so that I get a little bit of sun as well. And when it rolled around to 7th month, that's when I started a little bit of more exercises. I got a gym ball. Actually, you can get a gym ball even earlier on, but I got it very late, around 7th month. So I started like bouncing on that for a long time. Every single day, like instead of sitting on the sofa, I would just go and sit on the bouncy ball and then watch the TV. So whenever you want to sit down somewhere, try sitting on that and just bouncing. It's a very good exercise for your pelvic muscles, and it will try opening up, make your pelvic more flexible and open up and things like that. It will just help in facilitating a normal delivery. So I used to do that, the gym ball, and then walk again. Like I used to increase the 30-minute walk into 45 minutes walk sometimes, depending upon what I'm doing every day. Like if, for example, I feel that I have not moved around a lot today, then I increase my workout. Also, we have a house which has first and ground floor, so I was taking up the steps all the time, so that was like inevitable. So I think that is good. Going up and down the steps is also good, because I was doing that at least like 10-20 times a day. So now coming to the delivery experience, which is where the real drama happens. If you had a C-section first and now this is your second pregnancy, it's almost like you are preparing your body for a first birth, because you have not had a natural birth yet. So so expect the things that you might expect from a normal first delivery. Like for example, you might deliver a little earlier than your due date. That's what normally happens with first pregnancies. And sometimes your contractions and labor might start off early and it might continue until 3 days or so when you actually go into labor. Like for example, like I'll tell you with what happened with me was my actual date was 25th of May. But on the 16th of May, around in the afternoon, this was Ramadan and everybody was fasting, and I just had my lunch and I was just sitting on my gym ball again, and I was just bouncing around and watching TV. So that's when I felt that there was a slight contractions happening. See, firstly, I didn't know it was contractions because I had not experienced it the first time. So I didn't know what a contraction is, but I had researched so much about a contraction that I knew that this was something like a period cramps. So that's what I was expecting. So my contractions, you can say, it started like around 5 o'clock in the evening. It was very slight in the beginning and I didn't actually feel it. I thought this was the normal, the pregnancy dilemmas and pregnancy pains. But it started getting a little more regular. That's when I noticed, like around every 10 minutes it was happening. And that's when I noticed, oh, something regular is happening, so I'm supposed to time it. So that's what you have to do when you have some kind of pain or some kind of, something like this pulling your tummy, or that's the feeling you have. Like if you have a contraction, something is pulling your tummy, or like you have a back pain that is not going away, that is when you know you're in labor. This was happening every 10 minutes. So I started timing it because you would know if it's a real one if it happens regularly and it's not going away. More than 2 hours it happens regularly and it's not going away, then it means it's a real labor pains. But if it's not the real labor pains, that can also happen because for me on the 10th I started getting contractions similar to this. And I thought I'm going into labor so early because 25th is the date. But that went away after around 1 hour. The pain kept coming every 10 minutes for 1 hour and then it just went away. Then it never came back. So, I knew it was not the real labor. It was a false alarm. So then this was on 16th when it was not going away. Even after 2 hours, every 10 minutes it was just keeping on coming. So then we decided, to wait. I messaged my midwife as well. I messaged her that this is happening, so should I go to the doctor because my in-laws are here. They were like forcing me, and my mom is calling from Dubai. She's like, go to doctor, get admitted, go. And I was like, no, I don't want to get admitted now, but I might go and check. So my midwife suggested that okay, you can go and see if it's the real pain and if your cervix is opening up or no. And so I said okay, fine, we'll go to the doctor and see. So we went to the doctor, and the doctor is obviously not available. The midwife was there. So this was around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, because the pain was not going away. So we went, and the midwife checked, and she told me that I was 4 centimeter dilated. So she told me, you can get admitted if you want. So I told her, no, I don't want to get admitted because as a first time delivery, because this is like a first time for me. So I told her this might take a few days, right? Because the pain was still every 10 minutes. It was not increasing in frequency. Usually the contractions are supposed to, come like 10 minutes, then every 6 minutes, 5 minutes, 2 minutes. That's when you go into labor. But mine was still at 10 minutes intervals. So then I thought, I'll wait it out at home. So the midwife suggested you can, get admitted if you want, and my mom was like, get admitted. I was like, no, if I get admitted, the problem is if I don't deliver within a time period, like without any medical interventions, your labor might go up to 3 days until you deliver. So until 3 days I have to get admitted into the hospital, right? So that's when I thought, this is not a good idea. I'll go back to home and wait out for my contractions to get shorter, like the frequency between the contractions to get shorter. So we went home. I had a bit of sleep. So one thing I would suggest is that if you start contractions, don't go get admitted into hospitals quickly, because what happens is then your clock starts. For example, if you get admitted today and then you don't deliver by tomorrow, not all doctors are going to wait out. Okay, you can wait in the hospital for 3 days or 4 days until whenever you're ready to deliver. That's not, sometimes it's not going to happen. So I suggest you go back home, wait it out until your contractions come a little shorter together. So because at home you're more comfortable, you can get some sleep, you can take a hot bath, and you can be around people and distract yourself, rather than just lying on the bed in the hospital the whole 3 days that you are in labor. It's not advisable. So that's what I did. I went back home and I waited it out. The whole night the contractions just kept coming around every 10 minutes, and alhamdulillah I did get some sleep. Then in the morning again this was just continuously happening. I had my breakfast and I was just on my gym ball and bouncing about, and I prayed. Then I was just continuously, and from the 16th onwards I had been continuously eating dates. That's another thing. Dates helps your cervix to dilate. So that's the reason why I suggest eating a lot of dates. This is something my Omani friend told me as well. So I was still on my gym ball and praying and doing sujood. Do everything that you normally do. Like for example, even during your whole pregnancy, don't sit and pray. How much ever you can, you try to pray standing up and do that, because that is also kind of an exercise as well. So don't sit and pray. So yeah, in the morning I was doing my normal stuff. I took and when the pain got too much, I started taking a shower. Like I was just standing under the hot shower for a while when the water was hitting on my back, and it was such a relief. Actually, I actually thought coming home was the best decision I made, because I could actually relax in between the 10 minutes. And again, my contractions were still 10 minutes apart. It was not coming to 5 minutes or 2 minutes when I'm supposed to go to hospital. So then around evening, I think 5 o'clock, and this was after 24 hours after my contractions started the previous day. So around 5 o'clock again, my husband and my in-laws and my parents in Dubai, they were all getting so worried. They were like, you're just just continuously, I'm on my knees sometimes on the floor with contractions, and they seeing me and they were like, let's go to hospital, let's go check again, and then I was like, okay, let's go check again, but if I'm still not dilated and if I'm still at 4 centimeter, I'm coming back home. That's what I told them, and we went again to check. So we went to the doctor, and that's when she told me the most shocking news. She told me I'm 7 centimeters dilated, and I was like, what? Then she's like, yeah, you have slowly, even though it's only like 10 minutes, your contractions are still 10 minutes apart, and yet you have 7 centimeter, yet you have dilated to 7 centimeter. So I was like, so should I go home? I was like little confused. She was like, no, you cannot go home, you might deliver in the car, so don't do that, now you can get admitted. And at that point also, I remember telling her I wanted a normal delivery. I told her this before, going upstairs to the labor room and getting admitted over there. I told her I wanted a normal delivery. And then she was like, yeah, I know, I know. So I was like, okay. And then I went upstairs, we got admitted, and the doctor came to check again. She checked, I was 8 centimeter. That was within half an hour, okay? So she checked, I was 8 centimeter already. And again, my contractions were still 10 minutes apart. So I messaged my midwife. She called me up. She was like, you can do it, She gave me all the courage that I needed. She was like, just hang in there, do it, and I was like, okay. So then she checked again. She said it's still 8 centimeter, and I've been at 8 centimeter since 2 hours. So let's do one thing, let's break the water, because my water is still not broken. So she said, let's break the water. So at first I was against breaking water, because that is again a medical intervention. But then I thought I'm already 8 centimeters, so breaking water might speed up the process. That's what I've read. And I spoke with my midwife. She said, yeah, it's I think it's okay, like, and it might speed up the process, like in the sense that, you know, I might dilate quicker. So she broke the waters, and that's when the process started. And so in the next 2 hours I dilated 2 more centimeters. So each 1 hour I dilated 1 centimeter, and within 9 o'clock I was at 10 centimeters, and that's when I started pushing. Another thing that I have to tell you guys when it comes to pushing the baby out is when the real thing happens. One of my friends, she told me that you would want to scream, right? Because you're in pain, you would want to scream, but don't do that. Instead, put all that energy of your screaming into pushing, and push like you're pooping. So that's exactly what I did. I didn't scream. I put all that energy into pushing the baby out, and alhamdulillah it went well. And I think by 9:36 Hamad was out. Alhamdulillah. So that was my whole birth process. It was the most beautiful journey I had, and it was like a completely different version of what I had experienced the first time. The first time was a very depressing moment for me, and this time it was the most beautiful thing that happened to me. I think that's mainly because of how the recovery process was so easy, and also because how I dictated my birth plan. Because the first time around I didn't have much of a role in that, but this time I was the one who was steering the wheel. So one thing I learned from this is that we as women are much more courageous than we give ourselves credit for, much more braver than we think we are. Anyway, this was my pregnancy journey and VBAC experience, and I hope I was able to give you some knowledge into the whole thing. What I have to say is that you guys have to be confident and trust your body, and you are more courageous than you think. So trust yourself, trust your knowledge, and learn more about it. Learn about your body, learn about the whole process, learn about your birth, have a proper birth plan, dictate your birth plan to your doctor, and make sure that she's on board with it as well. And if you guys have any more doubts, you can drop in the comments below, and I shall get back to them in the comments. So what else? That's it. Bye bye.